First and foremost, Paulie, were you wrong?
No.
You fucking were. Shut up.
I'm never wrong.
You know you were. What did you... Tom, back me up. Paulie was wrong
what?
last week.
You don't need to go to Tom. Me and you can talk.
He said
Me and you
that
can
Ant-Man
talk.
and the Wasp,
I have my
Quantumania,
pencil.
wouldn't hit $200 million worldwide.
What did it make worldwide? Culture.
I don't know. 230 odd million.
Yeah, it depends on who you ask. Box Office Mojo had it wrong.
To this moment, if you add in the 4 days, if you give it the 4 days, it looks at a $241 million in I guess technically 5 days now.
Okay, I didn't know there was a fourth day.
Yeah.
No, it did cross the weekend.
Two, inflation. Right?
What?
And
it's not an argument you gave.
And
it's not an argument you gave last week.
And 3, that's still crappy.
Of course it's crap. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying you were wrong.
have it, Mr. Nate. Nate Stachio. Have it.
Well, going into to be fair, going into the worldwide box office to Monday, you had 225 all in globally. So
listen, I said, listen, I was like, no one's gonna see this. It's the worst thing ever. 120
but it is
million.
Interesting. It is interesting because Rotten Tomatoes have got their audience score fixed, and it is fixed at 84%. It's not moved, but at 84%.
It hasn't budged.
And literally, like they've like doubled their reviews coming in. They're like, yeah, 84% still. 84%.
The more telling one is IMDb has it at 6.6% last I looked, and the cinema score, the more damning of the bunch, is a B. And I know for those of you out there who are looking like, oh, that ain't bad. No, that is bad for a cinema score, because the cinema score, for those who don't know, is when they poll people as they come out the theater. Most films score somewhere in the A to A minus range on average. If it hits the B, that's bad. Because that's usually when people are not enjoying the film so much. Like, very rarely does a film fall below a B minus.
I'm just going to say 2 things.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This movie sucks balls.
It was a terrible film.
And this movie sucks balls.
It was truly an awful film, actually.
It's such a bad film.
Who's seen it outside of just me? And have you seen it, Culture?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I saw it
Tom, have you seen it? Tom, you haven't seen it.
No, I'm not wasting my fucking
time. Of course not. So anyway, Culture, Paulie, this film was absolutely atrocious. What a disjointed mess.
Wretched.
Genuinely a disjointed mess, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was wretched, beginning to end. It was a hot mess. I counted at least 7 contrivances while I was sitting in the theater. I stopped taking notes at how bad things were about 2/3.
Why didn't the Kangs kill Kang?
I don't know. Why did they exile him?
Because reasons.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many reasons, so many plot needs this to happen moments that you were like, okay. I've told this story multiple times now, but I was in a row all by myself. This is a massive theater, right? There's, it's lettered A to Z, A to Z, as you would say, and then there's at least 20, 25 seats per row, right? Yeah. And there were 26 people in my theater. There was a dude behind me. He was the only one person in his row. He was 2 seats over. He's sawing logs halfway through the film, dude. Like everybody in the theater can hear him sawing logs.
No, I did nod for a second. I did. And I had no reason to nod. It wasn't late. I was in a good mood, right? But slowly it just kills you. It kills you, that film.
I made the grievous error of having a extra large Coke Zero.
Oof.
I forgot there was caffeine in there. I was awake for quite some time that night. So I watched this at like 7 o'clock, and I was like, that'd be fine. Yeah. And I completely forgot there was caffeine in Coke Zero. And I'm like, driving home, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling all right. I'm like, and then like message saying, I've just come out of the cinema. I've just had this, I had a Coke. I'm on a diet, obviously, because I'm prepping for a bodybuilding show. So I'm like, I just had like, a little bit of a treat with a Coke Zero. It's not a treat, but I'm like, I had a Coke Zero, a bit of a treat. And all I get back is like caffeine. I'm like, oh no. Like awake way too late. But it was such a bad film. Like MODOK as well. God damn. I don't think anything really nothing braced me for how bad MODOK truly was. Those visual effects of his face were utterly atrocious.
Well, they did a terrible job of stretching his face on whatever they laid on top of that pseudo screen they did with the CGI, but it was terrible. Yeah, but I mean, they kept it. They knew this was not going to be a good film because they kept revising the projections downward, from where they thought it would find itself. And every minute, like I said, every minute I sat there past like the first 20, I was like, can we go somewhere now? Can we do something? Could we have an adventure? There was at least 40 minutes that I was like, this is a waste of my time.
Well, the whole film was a waste of everyone's time. I think like nothing will prepare me quite for how dumb Michelle Pfeiffer's Janet Van Dyne really is. Just being like, like what? So she didn't tell anyone what was down there because she was getting railed by Bill Murray. Is that what it is?
Yes.
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Gross.
And then she killed some people, but she didn't. And because she was a superhero, she would have known that that's okay and people die, and it's unfortunate. It's so dumb. Anyway, don't want to get too into this. I just thought we'd cover it a little bit at the start because
go see some other films.
And it's from Gary for £5. Says, did you notice how Kang's soldiers reuse the same guns Star-Lord has instead of coming up with new gun designs? No.
Wow.
What? Did they?
The whole Gary.
I did not notice that.
Thank you for the super chat. But the whole film's a retread. The entire film's a effing retread. Everything on every level about it. Retread. Like, did I see those guns in that film? Did I see that background in that film? Yeah, you did.
The aesthetic, God, that aesthetic sucks.
I hate it.
God, honestly, I could bitch about this film all day. Hi, Nick. You got anything to say there?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Go on then.
Oh, I was just, I heard a little bit of the conversation while I was dealing with work crap, but with you guys talking about
your favorite thing, A-Force.
Yeah, A-Force. But I after watching the Loki season 1 and from what I hear about Kang and stuff, I'm really not even interested in this villain. Like Thanos was that mysterious, like, who is this guy? Like I knew who he was because I've read the comics, but the way they drew him out over multiple movies and kind of kept that mystery, and then you learned he's like the big baddie, in this time travel stuff is dumb to me. I'm not a fan of it.
I mean, it also wasn't just that, was it? It was also the fact that with Thanos, he was introduced at the end of each movie, and the movie itself was a self-contained story, which just so happened to be part of Thanos's, grander plan to grab something or do something. So they were very smart about how they wrote those movies. Now they're just like, there you go, there's a movie literally solely as a vehicle to introduce this guy that no one gives a fuck about. Oh, all right, cool, thanks.
Well, but again, this is the weird thing, right? So you have a handful of people who saw this King, or Jonathan Majors' King, at the end of the first season of Loki, right? Yeah. So not a lot of people have been exposed to him, and yet the red carpet events for the premieres for this character, that's all they talked about. Oh, and Jonathan Majors is a force of nature, is Kang, and I was just like, you could not possibly be pumping this up in the most artificial, and it's like syrupy sweet in a way that it's not lost on anyone what you're trying to do here. You're trying to artificially create a big bad out of whole cloth without actually developing it, which you just described, and Nick just described how they built up Thanos, right? It's going to be junk.
And these I've been seeing like a lot of these like shill sites like with titles like Ant-Man 3 soars with 225 million global box office, like oh man, like it's Ant-Man 3's killing it. Like this is the greatest movie. Everybody should go see it. I'm like 225. It's probably not going to go too much higher than that by the end of its run.
Well, it'll cross 500 million for sure. It'll do 500 million, I reckon. That film, the films that are coming out, I think will now struggle to cross 750. 500 million it will do. 750 will be a struggle. That's my hot take, basically.
Yeah, I don't see a $1 billion Marvel movie happening again.
No. Again. Well, the same writer that wrote Ant-Man is writing the Kang Dynasty. So
Guardians might be able to just pull it off, but like, yeah, outside of Spider-Man, I don't see a Marvel movie pulling it off. I see that at 8.
Tom, I see that at 875, 950, man.
Guardians.
Okay.
I said just barely.
Okay.
He said just barely, Culture. Come on.
Man. Okay.
You're saying the same things.
Okay.
Barely.
If it hits over 900 million, that's successful enough for that.
Yeah.